Hello everyone, and welcome to the crew. I'm Sea Lord Janda, and today we're playing Rule the Waves 3, in which we manage a navy from 1890 to 1970. We have to design and build all of the ships that our navy will use, and fight in wars against our assorted AI opponents. I've played the previous. This game only came out about a week ago. I've played the previous two games, but never this one before, except for a test game yesterday, which I screwed up the recording of. So let's get to it. We're playing as the United States. I've set navy sizes to larger. All the other settings are on default. Our objectives will be, we are the United States, so our objectives will be nothing less than complete global domination, I have to say. I can't see that anything else is, we should have comfortably the largest budget by the end unless something goes wrong, so I can't see that any other objective is justified, really. Our first target is going to be Spain because it's historical and logical. They have some nice possessions in the Caribbean close to us that are desirable, and maybe we can snag some stuff in the Pacific to extend our reach as well. So the first thing we have to do on firing up a new game of Rule the Waves is take a look at our existing pre-generated navy. We have, it appears, 2 battleships, 3 armored cruisers, a light cruiser, and 3 corvettes, as indicated by the type over here. This chart is, okay, the graphics look like they're out of 1995. But you just have to bear with them because it's actually a very good game if you're into anything involving navies and possibly spreadsheets. It's pretty self-explanatory. You've got the name of the ship, the class of the ship, displacement, speed, radar, but none of our ships have radar yet. This is anti-submarine capability. This is the year they were built. This is where they are on the map, which the map is just divided into each of these squares is essentially a different map area or sea zone or whatever you want to call it. It's not more battles are generated between ships that end up in the same map area if you're at war, so you have a certain amount of control over your navy, but you're much more, you have tactical control and operational control. How to put this? You have strategic control and you have tactical control, but you don't really have operational control. That's just how this game works. Anyway, this is your status. You can put ships in reserve or onto trade protection, etc. Crew quality, maintenance costs. This is basically, it says description. It's essentially just armament. This is blockade value, which is basically just how big a ship is assumed to be for calculating blockades. This is the division the ship is assigned to. These last two are both new to this game. Division the ship is assigned to and who's commanding the ship. Anything cruiser and above gets its own unique officer in charge now, which I assume is represented by this tab, yeah. So we don't really know anything about any of our officers right now, I assume because they're all newly generated, except for their years of seniority. So we'll basically just, I'm not going to swap anybody around since we don't know anything about them. Divisions, there's really only a couple of divisions that might be worth setting up in terms of just making sure hopefully our battleships operate as a unit and then our armored cruisers operate as a unit. Beyond that, well, we don't have much of a navy yet, so we don't need a lot of divisions yet. We are building, it would appear, an armored cruiser and a protected cruiser already, although it's strange that our armored cruiser is smaller than our protected cruiser under construction. So let's take a look at what we actually have in the fleet here. We have 2 battleships of the Michigan class. They are at 7,200 tons. They're awfully small, but it is 1890, so we'll have to sort of bear with them. The fact that they can only achieve 13 knots is a little concerning, as is this secondary armament of 4-inch guns, but they do have 4 12-inch guns, which is sort of the minimum for a battleship, so that's something. Armor, probably a little thin. Historically, it definitely would be, but I don't think this game really takes into account the change from pre-Krupp to Krupp armor types, so might be alright. These armored cruisers, 4,400 tons. They're too small. 18 knots is going to be faster than any of the battleships around, to be fair. Two 7-inch guns is awfully light, even for 1890, I would say. We're going to need bigger armored cruisers than this. The fact that it's smaller than our protected cruiser, the game just calls them heavy and light cruisers immediately, but they really wouldn't be in 1890. This is a good light cruiser, actually, Chicago. I like this cruiser. 10 6-inch guns, even if they're in a very... 3 of them are in side mounts. It's still quite a heavy armament for 1890. And 22 knots isn't bad either, so those are acceptable. These are colonial gunboats, pretty clearly. I don't think they're of any other... I mean, this is basically a very light cruiser at this point. I'm trying. This is also a colonial gunboat. I mean, it doesn't have any big long-term value, I wouldn't say. We do have a lot of money. I'd say we immediately need larger docks because 8,000 is not going to be anywhere near enough. Beyond that, we're going to need a bigger armored cruiser class. This New York class, 4,400 tons, isn't half adequate, but okay. I said Spain is going to have to be the first target. Let's see what they have. They have more of everything than us, apparently. They're building 2 battleships in Germany. Their existing battleships... It's a very suboptimal gun layout, but very thick armor, and they're faster than ours, so that's a problem. And this armored cruiser is pretty much straightforwardly better than our armored cruisers, given the 4 7-inch and 8 6-inch compared to 2 7-inch and 6 5-inch. Plus they have 3-inch guns, and they're faster, so we definitely need a better armored cruiser. However, this light cruiser is terrible compared to ours, so that's an advantage. And they have several other classes, but they don't... This one's at least fast, but they don't really look like they're any better. So, oh wait, this class is actually identical to ours, I think. Just literally identical. So that's something. They have 2 good... Well, that's 1 more than we have, so that's an issue, actually. Kind of unfortunate that their fleet is so much larger than ours, even if a lot of it is under construction already. We're going to need to build up a little before we go to war with Spain. But if any of you don't know, you can't just declare war in the Rule the Waves games. It's basically determined by random events that you have some influence on, so we just have to plan to be ready at any time, really. So the first thing we're going to need is an armored cruiser. We're going to need an armored cruiser that can actually make at least 21 knots, probably. I'd even prefer 22, but I don't think we're going to get that. That's... Well, let's see here. Okay. 4 inches of armor makes us pretty much proof against our own guns at anything beyond 2,000 meters, or 2,000 yards, but how much weight do we lose by adding a touch more? A lot. Okay. I'd also really kind of like to have 2 guns in each of these turrets if we can. Which is legal, at least. I wasn't sure if it would be in this year. Deck. Well, yeah, guns in this era have almost no deck penetration ability, so there's not too much point in having a thick armored deck. However, armored turrets are important. We don't have any torpedo defense. These are cruisers, so we kind of need them to be able to operate at long range. Interesting. Turret customization is a thing now, even though you can't really see these, but you can see the change on this. The main turrets between styles, I presume. I would say we're Victorian still at the moment. We have a couple of torpedoes. Okay, how big would this be? Okay, we cannot build such a large ship, so we're going to have to cut something. If I cut the belt back down to 4 inches. Okay, this is a much better armored cruiser than our existing armored cruiser. It's also much more expensive. This weight remaining, it's not necessarily a big deal if you're slightly overweight. You don't want to be too much, or your ship will become either just not allowed to build or highly unstable. But this is alright. I'll just, yeah. 8-inch guns is more than what any of our ships or the Spanish ships have, but I mean, 7-inch guns would certainly save some weight, but 8-inch guns should last a lot longer. They're sort of the standard. Okay, we're going to build one of these as soon as we can afford it. As for his existing construction, I am definitely going to finish Columbia, because I like this light cruiser class. The Spanish do have identical ones, but they're still good. This is kind of a bad ship. However, I assume we need some ships for colonial duty. Yes, we do need ships in the Central and Northern Pacific for colonial purposes. And we do need a 2-coast navy, sort of even a 3-coast navy, considering the Caribbean. So I think I'm just going to let us finish out this ship for colonial purposes. And we will figure out what to do with it later. I think it should be fine in like Hawaii or something. So now we will progress a turn. We go 1 month at a time. And random events will happen like you just saw with every turn. Usually nothing terribly important happens. I didn't really look at the almanac. Let's see. Britain has by far the largest navy, followed by France and Russia. That's not really surprising at all, obviously. Germany and Italy also larger than... I mean, honestly, Spain is about the only navy we could actually fight and beat at this point, and we are not starting off in a strong position. And our budget is smaller than everybody but Spain and Japan and Austria-Hungary's, but we're the United States. Our economy will explode within a couple of decades. Pretty much guaranteed unless we lose a bunch of wars, which I'm not planning on doing. We do have a massive budget surplus, but that's okay. I'm just going to wait for our armored cruisers to be ready. Oh, the government is concerned about tensions leading to war. What do I recommend? Spend more on the Navy. Disarmament. It would be funny to get a disarmament treaty 2 months into the game. Or an alliance, but no, I think I just want budget. People are laying down battleships. I can't really lay down a battleship domestically, not with 8,000 tons of capacity. On the other hand, these battleships are awfully slow and really weak secondary armaments and not very good armor. I mean, they would lose very badly, I think, to... See, the 4 12-inch guns and a broadside actually means they would have a chance against these Spanish ships, but that 16-inch belt that they allegedly have is kind of terrifying. And also really thick, considering all the British battleships only have 10.5-inch belts. I mean, Britain is prone to under-armoring its battleships, but yeah, pretty much everybody around has 7-inch. That's really pushing it, Russia. It looks like most of the major powers have like 7-inch, 10-inch or less, or slightly more belts. Except for the Spanish. Okay, this Italian one has more, but it's also just terrible layout, so we won't even count that. I don't even know what to say about Austria-Hungary. And I really don't know what to say about Japan. I don't know what... This isn't a battleship. This is a... This is... I don't know what this is. This is a monitor or a coastal gunboat or something. It has some armor, but not much, and it's really slow, and it... Most importantly, it doesn't have an armament of heavy guns, really. It doesn't actually outgun that new armored cruiser I just designed very significantly. And it's only 3,300 tons. I don't know what the hell that is, but it's just a Japan thing, I guess. Internal upheaval in Northern Korea. Should we try to yoink Northern Korea? That seems like inserting our hand into a snake nest at the moment. I would rather get a fleet that can actually fight somebody first. Let's build ourselves... How much do these cost a month? Let's build ourselves at least 2 of these immediately. We need armored cruisers that are actually capable. Okay, we still have a budget surplus, so our fleet really needs to be expanded immediately. I think it needs to be expanded with some battleships that are actually of use, and we can't wait several years for our docks to become big enough, so we're going to have to contract Great Britain to build us some battleships, which is humiliating, but acceptable. Okay, I don't need 18 knots, but I would like some pretty thick armor. Because, I don't know. I like to go for pretty heavily protected battleships. I mean, they're battleships, that's what they're supposed to do. Definitely, especially with how bad armor is in this era, you could go for less protected battleships, but that's not what I typically do. I would like 3-inch tertiaries, though. Okay, we are massively overweight, but that is fine. Well, it's not, because we can't, literally can't build this battleship, but we'll figure it out. Hold on. 2.5-inch deck. Can these guns can penetrate no deck armor, basically. I think a 2-inch armored deck will be plenty. So these diagrams of ships have gotten a lot more detailed than they were in the last games, I would have to say. All these little launches and ship's boats, etc. Very nice. Okay, so 14,300 tons. This is a big battleship, to be sure. But I don't know what else I can trim down, really. Our territory is very far flung. We might have to move back and forth between our coasts, so there's no sense really in building short-ranged or cramped ships. It would be too damaging, potentially. Should we go for a heavier second? We cannot really get a heavier secondary armament. I'd like 6-inch guns just because we only have 4 main guns, but it's not really possible in 1890 on any decent weight, I don't think. Yeah, we only have 2 available armor schemes because this is 1890, so... Okay. I like this design well enough. This is basically a classic pre-dreadnought. It doesn't have a very heavy secondary armament, and it's really rather heavy in itself, but we don't have any weight-saving techs or anything yet, so that's why. we'll probably have to build about 2 of those immediately, just because to counter Spain's 2 that they're building. What, in Southern Korea as well? Internal upheaval. Japan is sending a force there to restore order. International force, please. We have chased Japan away from that, but they still hate us. I mean, if we fought Japan in 1890, it wouldn't be the worst thing. They don't have a very big fleet yet either. In fact, they only have 1 battleship in service, and it's that joke thing that I pointed out. So they do have a lot of light cruisers, though, or rather protected cruisers. There are a lot of different designs. Just glancing at the stats, they don't look like anything I'm terrified of. I think we could fight Japan quite comfortably, actually. The only thing is we wouldn't really get anything out of it because they don't have any actual territories outside of Japan as of yet worth grabbing. We would just have to take war reparations. I guess we could take Hokkaido if we really won, but that would be a little weird. Okay, our battleships are ready. We don't actually have enough money to build 2 of them, but I'm going to build 2 of them anyway. It's going to cause a massive monthly deficit, but that'll be partially... We'll probably have to postpone one of them or one of our local armored cruisers, but it's important we get a battleship fleet that actually works. I'm not very convinced by these, so... A new hawkish government wants to raise armament expenditures. What is my reaction? This will ensure the safety of our nation. Our scientists have... Oh, shoot. You know what I forgot to do? And to be fair, there's nothing telling you to do this, but... I find it's generally best to increase your research budget to the maximum pretty much immediately. And... I like to prioritize these things because fire control really massively increases your gunnery accuracy. I believe it is ship design that will get you more centerline turrets and the like. Maybe it's turrets and gun mountings now, or it was before even. But I'm going to stick with ship design. And naval guns because our guns are really bad right now. Biggest we have is 13-inch guns at -2 quality. Eventually, we're going to need... I mean, some of these bigger calibers we might not ever use in the game, but at the least, we're going to need 15 or 16-inch guns of decent quality, and we just need to improve the quality of all of these, or we will fall behind everybody. So, Captain Junior Grade Montgomery has been implicated in a scandal involving copious amounts of champagne and an admiral's daughter. A sailor is entitled to have some fun when he comes ashore, blow off some steam, you know. Captain Montgomery. We don't actually have any admirals in the Navy, incidentally, but, I mean, you got to admire the man for finding an admiral's daughter. Considering our lack of admirals. Maybe it was a foreign admiral. That's even worse. Okay, I'm going to assume he slept with the Spanish admiral's daughter. I'm firing him. He's cashiered. Bye. Yeah. Speaking of which, we probably should have some admirals in the Navy. Which involves actually creating some divisions for the Navy. This is new for this game. Yeah, we'll call this, sure, First Battle Division. BX. I'm just going to call it BB. Well, I guess it's not BB, but it's whatever. We're going to add both of our battleships to that division, even though they're kind of bad, but they'll have to do. And then all of our armored cruisers could be a division, but they're all scattered, as you can see, across random areas of the Pacific, so I don't really see a need for them to be a division right now. And I think we have to assign somebody to be commander of this division. Do we? Yes. Oh, but we don't have any. We have to promote somebody or something. Let's see here. Captain. So our most senior captain, I think, is Captain Barney. We don't know anything about him, but... Oh, well, who am I promoting him over the head of? Well, somebody's got to become an admiral. Okay, guess not. Sure, I'll let them solve this. One of our cruisers is run aground on the shore of a minor nation while performing an illicit intelligence operation. They threatened to impound the ship. I think we should... Yeah, let's just, let's intimidate them into releasing the ship. This can't cause a war. Oh. I literally just tried to promote this guy to command to Rear Admiral and place him in command of the 1st Battle Division, and the game is just... didn't let me, but has now decided that it can just be done. So that's good for... Oh, God, we are really close to war with Russia and Germany. Don't love that. They both have much larger navies than us currently. Well... I mean, Germany doesn't really have any bases that they can threaten us from, but their navy is much bigger. I mean, neither does Russia, but their navy is hugely bigger, so... Either of those would be bad to... Oh. You actually lied to me. Somehow you've simultaneously promoted Worthington to Admiral and generated a new Admiral out of thin air to take command of that division. Well, it's a new game. It's not a big deal, really. I mean, I can't really tell anything about them yet anyway, except Worthington is average, which isn't all that impressive, so... Meade could be better than him for all I know. Construction. We are about to finish New York. Once New York is finished, we will still technically be negative, but only by a very slight amount, so I'm not worried about it. Oh, yes. I might sometimes want to manually appoint people, so I'm not going to tell it to do all, but I don't feel like it's... oh, we should... I don't care if retired and dead officers are on this list. I don't feel like it's relevant to really appoint anybody manually right now when we don't know anything about them. I assume time does that, or possibly experience with them in battle. Oh, good, more money. A major foreign policy crisis has erupted with Great Britain. What is your advice? Let's... No. War had better not come down now. Damn. I hate taking options that make us take a prestige hit, but it's 1890. The United States fleet, the U.S. Navy cannot fight the Royal Navy yet. Just absolutely not. We will... let me look at the almanac. They have 13 battleships and 29 light cruisers in service. They have 240,000 tons of light cruisers, and our whole navy is, what, 80,000, a little bit of change tons? We would not have a chance. Maybe in single ship actions, but they would just immediately blockade us from Canada and destroy us. They're a nightmare of an opponent. Maybe in the 1920s we can fight them, not right now. That's fine, actually. There's a good chance that France at this date still has as good or better tech than us, so yeah. Hopefully we get a benefit out of it instead of... Oh boy. I want a war with one of these two, not one of these three. Especially not with 14 to 19 months until we have proper ships available. Okay, we have our battleships are on the East Coast. That seems right. Our light cruisers, these are basically scouts for the fleet. At this point, these New Yorks are basically our colonial cruisers. But we only, well, it takes a long time to get to the Pacific, though, because there's no Panama Canal yet, I believe. Although, is there? There shouldn't be. I don't think, but this line is drawn from these two areas, so maybe it's not quite that bad. Maybe I have my dates wrong anyway, but I don't see what use these are going to be, really, in a conflict in the Atlantic, so I'm going to send them to the Pacific to be our squadron there anyway. Why don't I remember? There we are. Yeah, destination, North American West Coast. We have no ships in California right now anyway. We should probably have some. Thanks for watching, sailors. I hope you enjoyed the video. New parts should be up daily, or you can watch live on Twitch. If you did enjoy the video, consider leaving a like or subscribing. This is Sea Lord Janda, signing off.